Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first Search Attribution Expert Day. Woo, yeah, pump it up. This is a really special opportunity. This is the first time we are running through this content in the United States. It was first piloted last week in Vietnam, is it? We have the pleasure of having two really special and important people here with me today. So the first is AJ right here. He is an attribution expert. He is a product lead here in the United States, has tons of rich information on all of these products, so you'll get to know him really well today. And we also have the joy of having Jackie here. She's the curriculum manager for this training itself. So if you have feedback to share throughout today, like really great things that you learned, things you liked, please pull Jackie aside and share that feedback with her directly. And if you have anything constructive to share, please keep it to yourself. No, I'm kidding. Please share that also with Jackie. Today is a really great opportunity for you to help influence what this program looks like for months and even years beyond today. So thank you for joining us. We'll kick things off by introducing ourselves a bit. So welcome. I've been here for the past 3 days, for boot camp on Tuesday, for shopping expert day yesterday, so I see a ton of friendly and familiar faces in the room. Thank you for coming back. You probably know far more than you want to about myself already, but I'm Selena Ferguson. I'm a partner enablement manager here at Google. Have been at Google for 5 years, both at our headquarters in Mountain View and now out in New York, which is a lot closer to home for me. I like to brag about how much I love New York. And I've shared some facts about myself over the past few days, but one I haven't shared, I shared with a few folks walking around, is being in LA makes me really cognizant of the fact that I have missed out on one thing, and that is getting a driver's license. So I'm not sure how fun that fact is or how sad it is at this age, but something I still need to do. Okay, I'm passing it over to AJ.
Hi, I'm AJ. I'm also based out of Mountain View. Well, you're based out of New York now. I've been with Google now for 3 years. I'm the attribution lead for the Americas. So what does that mean? You could call it kind of a bridge between our product managers and our advertisers. So I love bringing to the market our new solutions, but I also love going ahead and speaking with all of you, hearing your feedback and how you're using our solutions today. So been at Google for 3 years. When I'm not working on attribution or measurement, I love boxing. I do love international travel, and I'm originally from Chicago. And excitedly going to Iceland in a couple of weeks. Raise the hands, anyone who's been to Iceland?
Oh, you all just volunteered yourselves to give him some recommendations.
There you go. It's very trendy right now, so I'm kind of following along.
Thanks, AJ.
Yeah.
And Jackie.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jackie. As Selena mentioned, so I'm the Global Product Curriculum Manager for Attribution. So today's content that you're seeing, I created. So as she said, feel free to let me know your wonderful feedback. Fun fact about me, I'm also from Chicago, but I'm a Cubs fan. He's a White Sox fan. And I actually started at Google working the 8662 Google line. So raise your hand if you've called this line. Okay, so a lot of you. So if you ever received just absolutely wonderful service, it probably came from me. But yeah, I'm really excited to have you all here. I'm here in the back to take some notes and collect feedback, and then I'll be presenting later as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, y'all. Can we get a round of applause for having these two folks here today? I'm excited. I'm also excited to play Hype Woman today because I really do think this is a really special opportunity. Okay. You know the deal. We're not diving into anything without having a little fun first. It's the morning. It's Thursday morning, so we've almost made it through the whole week. What we're going to have you do is have you stand up. This is going to take a little bit of coordination, so bear with me. If our front row of tables can make a line right here in front of the stage, our middle row of tables, if you could make a line going across the room right in that aisle, in front of you. And our last row, same thing. If you can make a line in the back of the room, we're going to play a fun game. We've got some ping pong balls, and we have a task for you. You are each now on 3 different teams. Feel free to come up with a team name for yourself.
Oh.
This is going to be a challenge. There we go. I think our middle row is maybe struggling a little. Yeah, we got it. I think we'll do it this perfect. Okay, so your goal is you're each a team. And as a team, we want you to work together. We are going to give each team a ping pong ball, starting over here closest to this side of the room where the doors are. Your task is to pass this ping pong ball and make sure it gets to the last person in your team's line over on the side of the room toward the food. Now, a few rules. Every person on your team has to touch the ball to get it to the other end, so one person cannot walk it to the other. And you can only ever have one of your limbs touching said ping pong ball. So feel free to get creative. Use your hands, your feet, I don't know, your head. But only one person can have one body part on this at a time. And we need to make it to the other end of the room. The team that does so the fastest, we're going to be standing at the end of your lines, and whoever is the last person with the ball, if you could shout when it makes it to you, the first team to get it over to this side will be the winning team. Do we have any questions in terms of these? I know, it's this is a very complex game here. You win by getting the ball to the other end, making sure it has touched every single person on your team, and that every person has only touched it with one limb. You can do whatever you'd like to do to get it there. So we're going to start you off by making sure that every team has a ping pong ball to pass. I will give them out on this side. And actually, AJ, would you do the honors of getting us started, of saying go once I get these balls passed out to everyone? Good luck. Uh-oh, someone just traded spots with you so that you could start that off. I'm going to give this to you. What was that? You can totally use your hands. I think they're purposefully vague. Good question. If it falls on the ground, you have to use the same hand, foot, whatever you use to pick it up. You don't necessarily have to stay in order. Up to you. But everyone should touch the ball. Okay, AJ, are we ready to go?
Yeah, so on 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa.
Nice. Oh gosh, our middle team just crushed that. Nice work, everyone. Okay, middle team, we've got a prize for you. Let me come down. Jackie, are we giving out these notebooks? This one right here? Okay, middle team, we've got a prize, but we only have one prize. And we're gonna leave it up to you to determine who gets this pretty swagged out Google notebook. What do you think? I know. We've got some disagreement. Who does this go to, team? I'm seeing different people's. The runner, what is your name?
Jeff.
Jeff. Can we get a round of applause for Jeff, our winner of this game? Okay, folks, we're going to sit back down. Awesome. Thank you, AJ. Okay.
Interesting strategy.
Okay, folks. That was to get us warmed up a little bit. But I also like to think of this game as a fun way to exhibit the challenge that we are all about to tackle today. That challenge is, how are we going to award credit of all of your efforts to different people, touch points, campaigns, keywords? That was a fun way to kind of show off that it's truly a challenge to determine what and who we're giving credit to. So that's what we're going to be tackling today, this complex topic of attribution in particular. So I want to talk to you a little bit about today before we get things kicked off. And I want to start with why we're here today. Now, Search Attribution Expert Day is a part of our full Expert Day series. We have Audience Expert Day, Automation Expert Day, Video for Performance Goals Expert Day, and Shopping Expert Day, which we just had yesterday here in Los Angeles. And all of these trainings are really geared toward making sure that practitioners, the people who are in Google Ads accounts regularly have the tools, the skills, and the strategies to execute on some of our best practice performance-winning strategies. Now, I mentioned practitioners in particular. A lot of today's content is geared toward you folks who are in accounts regularly, who are optimizing, managing campaigns, working directly with clients. But if anyone in the room is not doing that on a regular basis, perhaps you're on a sales team or you're a manager of a team, that's totally fine. Today's content should still speak to you. It's really helpful to get an understanding of these basic concepts. But we ask that you do take something like your workbook. We can make sure you have extra copies and pass those along to the practitioners on your teams to make sure that any of the best practices, the strategies that we're talking about today, get implemented in your accounts. Now, for the past 2 days, I've made the mistake of putting up what our goals are for you all today, and then asking folks if they had any different goals. Spoiler alert, every time I did that, no one had any different goals. They were totally cool with the goals we threw up on the board. So what I want to start with today are what your goals are, what you want to take out from today's training, what you hope to walk away with, whether they're burning questions that you have, or just topics that you want to breach. Fabulous. Can we actually have some mics on the tables. They are those Google boxes. Can we pass one over here? Thank you.
Oh.
So sorry about that. We will do a better job of passing, I think,
Sorry, Risa.
lightly. Maybe we don't throw these anymore.
I
have
think by the end
similar
of the day, I'd just like to be able to clearly explain this to my clients and why they should be doing this. So just high level, but understanding the nuts and bolts will help us be able to explain that.
Okay.
Fabulous. Thank you for that. How to very clearly explain this to your clients. How we break down complex strategies, topics, and explain them in a clear and easy way. We actually have an exercise specifically geared toward that.
Okay.
So let us know what you think.
Yesterday, I was in a half-hour conversation about how can we use Google Attribution for their direct mail campaign, and I told them that technology is maybe 5 to 10 years away, and I'm just hoping it's not.
Well, I'm happy to say I also don't think it's 5-10 years away. We're going to specifically be talking about search attribution today, but I love that you bring this up because this is a topic that you will see kind of coming up over and over again in today's training, which is that we are at the very beginning, the first steps of our attribution solutions, and we're expecting to see a lot more launch. So you'll hear about what we have in store for you at the end of today. And then today can talk about search, how you can make sure to get that right, and perhaps even apply some of these learnings to other channels.
Are we going to see the standalone Google Attribution platform today?
We will not see the platform as much as we will talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Any others? Did we all come for the free food? Okay. Thank you.
Essentially how to overcome objections. So
Yeah.
sometimes people will say, oh, I just want to test it on one campaign, or they're very hesitant, and then kind of showing how it's working.
Yeah.
Very fast.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. We have a whole section dedicated to myth busting in particular. I actually like to think of that as almost objection handling in itself. But you have both AJ, both Jackie here to help you tackle any other objections that you might have already heard from clients. So feel free to throw those out at them.
Even feel free to ask questions about certain verticals, whether it be, we don't only have to talk about e-commerce. If lead gen's really important to you, bring those questions up as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How can you end a month with a partial conversion?
Got it. So maybe a better understanding of how attribution works, why you might be seeing decimals in accounts, for example. Totally.
The reporting, yeah.
Got you.
Week on week, year on year, yeah.
I love it. Please hold us accountable to all of these things you want to get out of today. It sounds like we have a lot of content specifically geared toward some of these questions, some of these challenges you're facing, but make sure to continually bring this up if they still are relevant. Thank you. Sure.
How to effectively optimize towards two different lead goals.
So like we have some stuff that's like leads, just like registrations and also subs, and some accounts that we have to split out. We basically have some arbitrary values to the conversion value, make it so that it's just not some sort of like ROAS or ROTC.
Yeah. Totally.
Awesome. We have a whole section on measurement. It sounds like that could answer half of the question. And we'll talk about solutions like smart bidding as well here, and how we can make sure to set up goals for some of your conversions. It sounds like various conversions.
Yeah. And with the more nuanced questions too, we have a happy hour. It's not, it's there to have fun, network, but I'm also happy to, answer some of the more nuanced questions during the happy hour too.
Fabulous. Yes.
The number one challenge we have is doing cross-channel attribution modeling. Google has its attribution model, DoubleClick has an attribution model, Facebook has an attribution model, and sort of like merging them all together in one sort of ecosystem.
Yeah.
Nearly impossible. And then if we have 3 different attribution models saying conversions are attributed differently, then how do you like reconcile that?
Wait, people advertise somewhere besides Google?
I know. I really only heard Google. You're also trying to figure out Google's attribution model. Totally fair. Cross-channel or multi-channel attribution. We will likely scratch the surface, if I'm being perfectly honest on that front. As I'm sure a lot of you know, Google Analytics is currently our tool that's going to give you the best look into that. We have some content tailored specifically for Google Analytics, I think more so in terms of interpreting like display campaign performance. But as questions arise and as we're going through this, please ask them, and we can potentially add some context for what this looks like on a multi-channel view. And then outside of that, I would say that's another probably great question to bring to AJ during a break, perhaps even to open up an analytics account for any of your clients too. I love this. Thank you, folks. Do we have any last goals? I knew we could tease some out. Okay. Think on it. Feel free to jot down notes in your workbooks. Those are yours. And make sure that you get those questions answered today. Today is totally about you. And so we want to make sure that you walk out of these doors having your questions answered, feeling like search attribution experts. Awesome.
All right.
Okay, our agenda, what this looks like for the day. I'll kick us off with why attribution, really high-level narrative as to the challenges that we're facing in this space, what exactly today we'll focus on. I'm going to kick things off over to AJ, and he will take us through measure. We'll have some breaks and a lunch break built into here. We'll also then go through attribute, which we have broken down into 2 different sections. We'll first talk about how you can select the right non-last click attribution model. And then we'll actually talk about changing your attribution model, and we'll bring up Jackie for that section. And then lastly, we have act, how we actually act on all of this great new data. From there, we have a fun game, myth busting, hopefully to help you tackle some objections that you're seeing from clients, hearing from clients, perhaps even objections or concerns that your own organizations might face as well. So hopefully we'll alleviate all of those, and then we can celebrate at happy hour outside. Okay. We're going to get things kicked off. Very quickly, how we're doing this. We've got tons of content for you. We will be having you break out into groups to have discussions. We've got activities, perhaps some more games, and then hands-on experience. I have said this for the past 2 days, but if you want to open up your account, want to follow along with any of the steps, whether it's implementation, whether it's best practices, optimization, feel free to do so. Otherwise, feel free to take notes on your laptops, but also make sure that you're getting the most out of today. Which brings me to our asks, the rules of the game. Be present, make sure that you are able to soak up all of this goodness. If you need to take a break at any point, feel free to. The food will be out, coffee will be out, the restrooms again are in the back corner, and you're able to go out of these doors specifically if you need some fresh air or if you need to take any calls throughout the day. We have Jessica sitting outside to make sure you can get back in. Participate in activities, please. When I ask questions, don't leave me hanging, please. But it's okay, I kind of have fun with it. And then lastly, have fun. Today's about you, but we want to make this as fun and engaging as possible. It might sound hard to believe, but search attribution can be a pretty exciting topic. So hopefully we can keep you fun and having fun and feeling good about this all day long. Speaking of games and having you participate, we want to start off with one to get a read of the room, to better understand how you're feeling about this topic of attribution. Now, throughout today, we're actually going to be using a gaming website. The URL to that site is up here. It's goattribution.co. There is no M missing from that. If you can pull that up on either your mobile phones, your laptops, you can probably keep it open during the day. You will be asked for a PIN. So in that PIN field, you can just enter EN20, I believe is what it is today. Once you get to the homepage, you will see the option to click in and select a word cloud. In that word cloud, we want you to enter one word that describes what feeling comes to mind when you think about attribution. Feel free to be honest here. Safe space. Perfect. And if we could switch to the laptop. We've got some answers coming in. I'll wait for a few more people to enter some in. This should be refreshing. But what we see already, delayed, hectic, proof, conversion. I love this. I feel like these are very almost abstract. Okay, whoa. Disappointment, frustration. We've got joy. Thank you, whoever put that in. I hope that wasn't Jackie in the back. Kidding. Credit, influence, brick wall, confusion, inaccurate. That's in there a few times. Frustration, unfair, negative clients, complicated. Thank you, everybody, for being so honest in here. Messy, stress. Let's do one more refresh on this, see if there are any others in here. Misleading. Evaluating, accountability, overwhelming. Thank you, folks. And if we could switch back to the presentation. Thanks.
I was waiting for sexy.
I know. Hopefully at the end of the day, it would be interesting to do this activity again. See what other feelings we have there. Now, you're not alone in some of those feelings. We saw a lot of feelings that kind of reflected perhaps you seeing attribution as a challenge or seeing it as something that you don't yet know how to tackle, something that I'm sure you're having conversations with your clients about, or having to have those conversations with your clients about, and perhaps not knowing exactly how to navigate some of their questions, some of their frustrations or concerns. And you are not alone in that. In fact, 71% of marketers list measurement and attribution as their #1 challenge. So this is a feeling and a sentiment that resonates across the industry, and our goal is to help make this seem a lot less confusing, a lot less stressful, and to give you a clear picture of both what attribution solutions are available to you today, and also where we're going with this solution, what the roadmap could look like, and what you can communicate is the vision to your clients. So where we are today and what that vision looks like. Now, I have a question for a brave soul in the room, perhaps. But can I have someone define attribution? This word we're going to be using over and over again today. Ooh, thank you. Can we throw a mic, just pass a mic? There we go. Perfect.
It's like your method of assigning credit to a conversion based on the user's path.
I couldn't have said that better. Method of assigning credit to a conversion by or based off of a user's path. I'm not sure I got that word for word, but that is almost exactly what we have up here. Attribution is the rule or the set of rules that will determine how we're assigning credit across touch points along someone's conversion path. So bravo, that was a really great explanation of attribution. We'll continue to kind of bring up and flash this definition because it's important to keep this in mind. Today, we're going to be talking about attribution, but we're going to be starting our conversation with talking about measurement in particular. Measurement, of course, is the foundation for making sure that we are able to use things like our attribution models. If we're not measuring conversions, then we're not able to distribute the value of them. across our touch points. Okay. So yesterday I started our training off by taking us back in time to 1994, which was the year that the first online purchase was made. Today we are going a little bit less back in time to the year 2000, which is the year that Google Ads actually launched. And in 2000, some of the pioneers of digital advertising were working on computers that looked something like this. Do people remember using computers that looked like this? Some folks. Gosh, I think it's crazy to think about the fact that some people might not be old enough to have used a computer that looked like this.
I remember specifically my family just yelling at me because we had dial-up, obviously.
Yeah, and they were trying to use the phone.
They were trying to use the phone.
Exactly, the struggle was real. And in the year 2000, Google Ads were being sold on a pay per 1,000 impression model. So PPC didn't even exist yet. And by the time that we were able to track conversions, by the time that technology came about, most people were using a single device to do their research, to do their purchases, to take any valuable actions on. And it wasn't uncommon for them to do it in one single sitting. So why am I mentioning this? Well, it's to set the stage for what we're going to be talking about today, which is really moving from using a last-click attribution model to using a non-last-click data-driven attribution model. But whenever I have this conversation with partners and clients alike, I think one of the first questions people ask is why our accounts currently default to using a last-click attribution model, right? Like the reason we use last-click is because you gave us that option and that's what we default to. And the point that I like to make is that last-click attribution has been the industry standard because that was the option, the only option that technology allowed for some time. When people were making their conversions, taking those valuable actions on one device, in one sitting, and often even just through one channel, last-click attribution, giving credit to only the last click, was totally sufficient. But just in the same way that you are not using computers that look like that computer we flashed up there, that big, bulky, almost vintage-looking computer, last-click attribution is no longer sufficient because of the way that we behave. So I want to talk about this consumer behavior a little bit that is dictating the new attribution that's necessary for us today. And you know we got to start by talking about mobile devices. The device on which we live most of our lives and the device that, quite frankly, changed how we live a lot of our lives. Now, folks from yesterday know this talk track, that mobile has made us more curious, demanding, and impatient than ever before. We are curious. We're able to research anything at any time with just a few taps. In fact, 79% of consumers use their smartphones for research. And what they're researching are things like this. They're researching best umbrellas, best travel accessories, best toothbrushes, all of which are queries that have growth, year-over-year growth, in the hundreds. Now, if you're interested in getting any query information like this, talk to your Google teams. They readily have it available.
I really like the quotations of best. It really talks and speaks to you demanding and impatient. Aside from attribution, I also focus on our offline solutions. So how does your advertising investment influence, offline sales? And I like to think, best is where we're headed, but consumers are even more demanding and impatient than ever before. If you were to pull out your phone and just type in pizza, you don't even have to add extra context. It's literally going to go ahead and show you like the 3 or 4 closest pizza spots that you can go ahead and check out.
It's so true. And that really speaks to that fact that we're demanding too. We expect that we're going to receive really high quality, relevant answers to our questions and information. And we want that quickly. We're impatient, right? And the reality is that we're not just living our lives on mobile devices, though. We're living our lives across devices. If you are anything like me, you might, on your way to work, pull out your phone. I like to do vacation inspiration shopping is what I call it. I'll look up different destinations that I can go on vacation early in the morning on my phone. Perhaps I will switch to my laptop in the middle of the workday when I need some inspiration. And then later on, when I'm on my couch, I will use my tablet to do the same, continue that research. We're moving across devices at all times. 75% of online adults are doing this. They're starting on one device, continuing on another. And today we have more devices than we ever had before, right? We have things like smartwatches and in-home assistants that we can also talk to do this research. And to make this even more complex, we are across devices and we're also across channels. The typical marketer uses 13 channels to drive his or her marketing objectives. And you could even think about this in the context of any brands that you've seen a lot of advertisements for recently. I think of Quip toothbrushes, if anyone's familiar. Yep, I've gotten advertised to them across platforms. If that happens to be a client of anyone's in here, good job.
Is that the timer? Is that the one with the timer?
It does have a timer. It vibrates and tells you when you need to stop brushing. It's a really kind of cute rose gold looking toothbrush. Very millennial focused, I would say. But the way I just found out about Quip toothbrushes was I was on my phone listening to a podcast. And it was a podcast sponsor. So that was the first time I heard about Quip toothbrushes. Then I was standing on the subway platform in New York, and there was an ad for the toothbrush, and that's the first time I saw what the toothbrush looked like. So I was like, oh, cool. I kind of like the rose gold color. And from there on the platform, I pulled open their website. I looked at their pricing and what they offered. It's a subscription model. And then later on, I got retargeted an ad from them. And I am now the proud owner of a Quip toothbrush. But you think about some of these brands that are reaching you across channels, that are reaching you in moments that matter to you. A lot of them are happening on your mobile device. And it's the brands that get this right that are often the most memorable. Like, I remember Quip toothbrush. I remember exactly how I purchased from them. Now, to give you an example of another business that has done this right, that has really shifted how they work to meet this mobile-first behavior that consumers have. Just looking at pictures of Domino's pizza early in the morning makes my mouth water. But Domino's delivery used to offer 2 options for how you can get pizza from them. You could pick up the phone and call to get pizza delivered to you, or you could go into their physical storefront to order pizza. Now, me on a Friday night in sweatpants does not want to either talk to someone to order my large pizza, nor go in and see someone face-to-face to do that. And so what Domino's did was they created many more ways for consumers to order from them, specifically from their mobile devices or from any device they were using. So now you can order from Domino's on your phone on their website. You can speak your order to a Google Home and have Domino's delivered to you through that. Or my favorite is you can send a pizza emoji to Domino's on social media to order your pizza from them. So absolutely any way you want to reach them, Domino's has really risen to the occasion to make sure they can accept orders wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And we have countless examples of businesses really doing this well, of businesses really meeting consumers where they are and where they need to be in order to do things like place orders. But what hasn't yet caught up with our consumer behavior is how we're really measuring and attributing value of all of these different efforts. So let's bring this into the world of ads, the world that we're a little bit more familiar with. And I want to talk about some of the challenges we face and then even an example consumer journey. So we can all probably accept the fact that what worked for measurement, what worked for attribution back in 2000 is no longer sufficient today. That's because of these 3 challenges that we just talked about, or these 3 pieces of consumer behavior that now dictate how we do things and also how measurement needs to do things. So we research on smartphones more than ever. We are moving across devices and we're moving across channels. Now, a consumer journey that can bring this to life is this one. It's one that I believe is similar for myself, for Jackie, perhaps even for you, AJ. We all moved cross-country to San Francisco, and then also cross-country for Jackie and I back to New York. And in doing so, I took the opportunity to buy a new mattress each time. My journey started with something like this on my shuttle ride home in San Francisco after I had signed my lease for my New York apartment, which is a huge accomplishment for anyone who has lived in New York. I searched for something like best mattress to figure out what my options were. I landed on a review site that told me all about these mattress-in-a-box options, like Tuft & Needles and Lisa, that will allow you to receive a mattress, order it online, get it to your home in a box. These mattresses are typically made of memory foam, so they make them sound super comfy, and you have 100 days to try it out. So I was super intrigued. Later on, a few days later, I took out my laptop while I was watching TV, and I actually searched for mattress in a box to figure out if there was a solution that would kind of fit my needs, one that I could ship straight to New York. The next day, when I was on a news site, I was actually retargeted an ad for a mattress, for a Casper mattress in particular. So then on Friday, at the end of my week, and actually right before moving, during lunch, went straight to search for a Casper mattress and ended up purchasing it. Now, from our purview as marketers, and let's say as someone who might even be managing Casper's advertising account, if we were on a last-click model, all of the credit for my purchase would go to that very last search for a Casper mattress. And this isn't uncommon, right? Our branded campaigns with branded terms like Casper, if that were my account, typically perform best on a last-click model. And what ultimately ends up happening is we want to put more money toward those branded terms because they're driving a lot of last-click conversions. They're what are working. But also what happens in a lot of cases is all of these previous searches done get ignored when I'm optimizing, right? Best mattress didn't produce any conversions here, in my view. Neither did mattress in a box. Should I still be spending on those? Should I be bidding down on those, perhaps? Now, there are three main challenges that we face with attribution. And these actually came up when we were talking about what people are looking to get out of today. Now, the first is cross-device movement, which we've talked a lot about. That's moving between devices to do any piece of research, and even in one path to purchase or conversion journey. Then we have our intra-channel challenges, being able to track movement across campaigns, across keywords, like my searches for best mattress, mattress in a box, and then Casper mattress. And then our last challenge is multi-channel attribution, making sure that we are also able to track people's movement across different channels, ones like display, search, social, organic. How do we connect the dots there? It sounds like that's something quite a few people already have top of mind. Now, Google has two free solutions that can help you attack these challenges. The first is what we will spend most of our time talking about today, Google Ads Search Attribution, a free tool that launched within Google Ads back in 2016. Now, for multi-channel activity, this is a challenge that is best solved at the moment by Google Analytics. You have access to things like multi-channel reports in there, multi-channel funnels. As mentioned, we're going to spend most of our time on the Google Ads front today, but we will bring in some Google Analytics reports, some tidbits for you, specifically focused around display campaigns and understanding the performance of those. Which brings me to a good point. As the name suggests, Google Ads Search Attribution is a cross-device, intra-channel attribution tool that will help you understand movement across your search and shopping campaigns in particular. At the moment, this solution does not address display and YouTube attribution, hence why we'll be talking about Google Analytics a little bit in here to address some of that. Now, you might be thinking, why just search? The reason we're talking about search is because it's a great place to start. For a lot of you who work at performance-focused organizations, search is what's driving performance for you. It's what's driving conversions. It's what's driving your efficiency metrics. So our goal is to tackle that first, to make sure you have a really great handle on the tools available to you for search attribution, and make sure that you have a great idea of what the strategies are here that you can implement across your accounts.
Yeah, I want to just plus one there. Agencies, I'm sure some of you also manage, their websites and their mobile websites, and I'm sure that, I remember when I first started maybe 3 years ago, the big thing was mobile. Let's go ahead and get you onto mobile, catch you up with consumer behavior. And guess what? You didn't solve mobile overnight, right? It was changes here and there to get to them, your customer to the experience on mobile where they were effective and competitive in that space. It's the same thing here with attribution. This is how I like to approach it, is it's going to be a journey, and search attribution is just the first step of that.
Thank you for that,
Yeah.
and such a good point. So we're starting the journey today. But this journey involves a lot. And to be honest, the most important piece of this journey will be changing your attribution model. That is what we'll be focusing on for a bit of today. But beyond that, it's really using the new data that you have from changing your attribution model to inform optimization tactics. In many cases, they're the same optimization tactics you are using today. So what do I mean by that? Let's go back to our mattress example, this mattress journey. As mentioned, what we would likely do based off of the data we have on a last click model is we'd likely increase our investment in things like our branded terms, increase things like our bids and our budgets there, put more behind that. But by shifting where we're seeing this data and by really giving credit to every touch point in this journey, we will be able to wholly value all of this more, with the goal of driving more conversions at the end of it. Because that's really what today's about. It's about helping you achieve client success, helping your clients grow by getting them more of what they care about. So when we talk about optimization in particular, there are 3 things we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on adjusting your targets and your bids. We'll talk about expanding your keywords. And then we're going to end with re-examining campaign budgets. This is all as a result of changing from a last-click attribution model to a non-last-click attribution model, having new, more whole data to optimize based off of for your campaigns. A client that has already done this and that has seen great success is La Quinta Hotels. Now, La Quinta is a hotel chain, and they actually moved to a non-last-click attribution model fairly early. They got on this bandwagon, and what they saw after optimization were some pretty incredible results. 131% increase in click-through rate, a 140% increase in their conversion rate, and an 83% increase in conversion volume over seasonality. Results that I would say no client wouldn't want to see. And so it's important to note that this is no longer the beginning of this conversation. This is not the first time we're talking about attribution, and this is probably not the first time that you've even spoken with someone at Google about this topic. We're seeing more and more companies make this shift already, like La Quinta. In fact, more than 50% of US companies are currently using a non-last click attribution model. So this is no longer the time that we can say we're getting ahead of the curve. It's the time where we want to say we need to catch up with this trend and make sure that we have the structure in place as organizations that are working with tons of really valuable clients to meet their expectations, to make sure that we're measuring in a way that's going to give them an idea of how all of their marketing investments are working and what's driving success for them. So the framework we're going to use for today is a 3-part framework. We love frameworks here at Google, something to give us a little bit of structure. We're going to start with measure, making sure we have the foundation for attribution set. We'll then move into attribute, or tribute. This will be broken down in 2 parts again. We're going to talk about choosing the right attribution model for your clients, and then actually changing your attribution model. And then as mentioned, this ACT piece, this last piece of the puzzle, is what is going to impact performance, making sure we're acting on this new data. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Cool.
To take us through measure. Let's start this journey together.
All right. Thank you. I really like talking about measurement and attribution. I think the main reason is I remember 3 years ago plus when I was prepping for my Google interview, I kept memorizing our mission to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And I think I go to work every day and I'm able to work on a solution that kind of does that for my advertisers. organizing the interactions you have with your customers and giving you information to make better informed decisions to help grow the businesses, right? So for the first part, we're going to go ahead and talk about measurement because I am a firm believer, garbage in, garbage out, quality in, quality out, right? So let's go ahead and make sure that you're just tracking everything correctly first. The first two questions that you want to go ahead and just ask yourself, which is the basics here, is what to measure and how are we going to measure that? I'm sure you're all very familiar with a lot of these conversion types here. We have in-store conversions and brand perception. As you all know, if you're able to launch a YouTube campaign today and work with your Google teams, you can actually go ahead and measure how much more likely somebody's going to perceive your brand in a good light or search for your brand after seeing your video ad. That's some of the video features that you can go ahead and use with your Google team. Or in-store conversions, we're helping close the gap with our multi-channel advertisers. And we're still working with our CPG clients too on that front, but being able to connect your advertising investment with the offline sales. My director right now, he used to sell this or idea of online influencing offline. Today, I'm able to work on those solutions that actually show our clients and your clients, yes, your online investment does influence offline sales. But let's go ahead and start off with the basics, the things that you're probably going ahead and working with today, because this is what these conversions here in the green, they do take advantage of Google Ads attribution today. So online purchases, newsletter signups, leads, pages visited, and converted leads, right? When we're talking about the type of conversions we're tracking, we can go ahead and bucket them probably into two areas. We have our macro conversions and our micro conversions. Our macro conversions are those types of actions on your website that actually go ahead and impact the bottom line right away. So for an e-commerce client, that might be a purchase right away. Or for a lead gen client, that might be a lead. Then we also have micro conversions that you want to go ahead and consider also measuring. So that could be newsletter signups or subscription models that might not be connected directly to the bottom line. So can I actually get a quick raise of hands so I know who I'm talking to here? If your clients are mostly e-com, can you raise your hands? Okay. Can I get a raise of hands for clients who sell both online and offline? Okay, more of you. How about lead generation? Okay, well, it's pretty even, but it's good to know. Cool, we have this little small group activity. Selena, do you want to go ahead and lead this one?
Sure. So I want to put this idea of differentiating and actually choosing what macro and micro conversions are for an example business, too, in fact. If we could go to the next slide, we've got two example clients for you. Let's say these were clients you were onboarding today. We'll leave both of these prompts up here, but our task for you in small groups within your tables would be for each of these businesses, determine what the micro and what the macro conversions that you might recommend they track are. We'll give you about 5 minutes to have this conversation, and then we'll circle back up and would love to hear what different folks would recommend. Okay, folks, we'd love to hear from you. Why don't we start with Otto's auto insurance? Who's got any idea of some micro or macro conversions that you might recommend tracking for this business type? Okay, so perhaps a micro conversion would be calls, email submissions. Thank you for that. Did other folks have that as either a micro or a macro conversion?
So my other micro conversion was the store locator page. Anyone that's looking for directions to get to the location.
Nice. A leading indicator of perhaps them going in, an in-store conversion. Thank you. Yeah, if we could
I have
Perfect.
fun. Hey. We put another micro as pages per visit, since they have different pages with their packages for their insurance, and then the macros would be contact form submissions and in-store visits.
Awesome. So I heard some site engagement metrics, perhaps, since it's a site that people would probably want to do research on. Maybe that's a micro conversion, letting us know of who has read through that a little bit more, who is more engaged. And then for our macro conversions, those form fills, since it seems like that's how they close a lot of business. And then this idea of store visits is one that we want to breach early. Because we do not spend a lot of time talking about store visits, despite it being an available conversion right now in Google Ads, only because it is not currently compatible with our search attribution tool. So we love that you brought that up, but want to get in front of that right now. It's definitely still a trackable conversion in your accounts. But in terms of what works with our search attribution tool, it's not one at the moment that you'd be able to take advantage of. So perhaps even having that micro conversion in place for people getting to that store visits page could give us some sort of indication, and then we can track that in the account still, but that would not be attributed credit on a non-last click model.
Who here uses store visits actively? Awesome. Yeah. Who uses store visits for reporting and optimization? Yeah. Totally.
Like all offline conversions, whenever you enter an offline, then you had exclusions from attribution, essentially, or like, let's say, what do you need to do to get it to being able to use that as part of your attribution? What do you need? Like, where's the missing gap? Let's just say you're uploading it every day. Where's that missing gap? Is there a solution for that? That I don't.
No problem. So are we talking about store visits or offline conversions?
Just offline conversions.
Cool. Are you talking about importing it from a CRM? Cool. We actually have a section talking about that a little bit later. So why don't we go ahead and talk about that then? Awesome. But yeah, to my point on store visits, we hear loud and clear that it can be a game changer to bring attribution to that product. If you were to look in your Google Ads account at your store visits, you'll probably see it heavily skewed to branded campaigns or things like that. Makes sense, you know. I know where I'm gonna go. I pull out my phone, just check the directions and what their hours are. So we hear you loud and clear, and we're working on that right now.
You've got AJ's word on it. Awesome. What about for Mabel's Maple Syrup? A company that I'm intrigued by.
Over there?
Yes.
So the macro conversions, phone calls, perhaps a higher AOV there, as well as purchases. Then for micros, add to cart, signups, and perhaps if there's a B2B page, if a user visits maybe twice, expressing interest in that higher AOV.
Thank you for that. A bunch of different types. So for macro, it sounds like phone calls, since they're able to accept orders from that, purchases, and then a bunch of different micro conversions there that give us a sense of everything from site engagement to people who are specifically interested in their B2B products. I liked that idea of maybe not even just people landing on that page once, but people who are specifically going to that page numerous times, some return visitors to specific portions of the site. Thank you. Anything to add? Fantastic.
Cool. Does anyone ever track macro and micro and have questions about, automation and how you should use bidding when you are using all these, some very important conversions and maybe some not as important conversions? Yeah. Hear you loud and clear. We have a small session to discuss that, and we're also looking into solutions for you there too. Great. So how to measure? Let's go ahead and talk about your options when you've decided what you want to track, and let's just go ahead and do a quick review of how you can track those effectively. So just to go ahead and make sure that you're tracking very effectively and accurately moving forward, we definitely do recommend to go ahead and update your tags to one of the Google site-wide tag options. So that's going to be either the global site tag, the G tag that we like to refer it to as, Google Tag Manager housing your conversions in there, or Google Analytics, which is probably the lowest hanging fruit or the easiest option for many of you. The key benefits of having site-wide tagging is it adapts and changes, and it's future-proof. So no matter what type of changes come to the ecosystem, whether it be changes to browsers and how cookies are handled, it will go ahead and make sure that your measurement is accurate. Accurate conversion tracking, as well as faster and easier integration. So I know you're all using different platforms. So Google Ads, Google Analytics, the DoubleClick platforms, they all can be housed in one distinct area. So that's one of the other value adds of having the site-wide tagging. To make it really easy for your teams to make the decisions on which Google global site-wide tag option is available and easiest for you to implement, we created this table. So if you're using Google Analytics, imported goals and transactions, and or offline conversion imports, no changes are necessary here. If you're using Google Tag Manager for Google Ads and or floodlight tags, you're going to want to go ahead and have Google Tag Manager. You're going to want all those conversion tags on every single page, and you're also going to want to have conversion linker set to true. If you're using Google Ads conversion tracking and or floodlight tags, the gtag.js tags will be your best bet. Like I mentioned before, you're going to have that available for your Google Ads, also for DoubleClick. And then alternative solutions in case Google Analytics is already implemented on the site and you're using Google Ads conversion tracking, is just to link your Google Ads and Analytics accounts. But this doesn't necessarily work for floodlight tags. Okay, so which conversion tracking solution to use? Can I get a raise of hands of who uses Google Ads conversion tracking? Okay. How about Google Analytics? Okay, a little bit more there. So let's just go ahead and review the key changes, because I'm sure your clients are probably asking you this all the time. So what are the key tracking differences between these two products? First off, the channels including Google Ads is obviously just Google Paid, while Google Analytics includes all your online channels. The cross-device conversions captured, if you want to go ahead and use that cross-device conversion column, that's just going to be available when you're using Google Ads conversion tracking opposed to Google Analytics. The types of conversions, you can do all types of online conversions, but you can't necessarily do like website engagements. So that's kind of more reserved for Google Analytics. Call conversion tracking is going to be for Google Ads conversion tracking, not GA. And store visits right now is for Google Ads, but we are beta testing the store visits option for Google Analytics right now. Conversions included in Google Ads, so that's going to be any conversion where a Google Ad touchpoint was involved. And Google Analytics, it doesn't have to be a Google Ads click. It can be any sort of direct touchpoint, obviously, with direct channels being available. One of the big questions I always get from sometimes my sales teams and your clients is the time of conversion being a big difference as well, or these discrepancies that we can go ahead and describe. I would say the go ahead and the big difference here is the Google Ads records the conversion on the date of the click that preceded the conversion, while Google Analytics records the conversion at the time of the conversion completed. And then you can also see discrepancies between your Google Ads conversion tracking and Google Analytics conversion tracking, just because there's more channels included with Google Analytics. So as you can see from this example, there's a 30-day user conversion path here with clicks, including Google Display Network, YouTube, social, and paid search. When you look at looking at the last click direct with Google Analytics, as you can see, it includes all of these channels. But when you look at Google Ads, it's going to not have the social media. So that's another, I'd say, the second reason why there's discrepancies. Great. So correct measurement setup in Google Ads for a website conversion. Here are the conversion categories that you're all probably very familiar with already. You can go ahead and choose a specific category for your conversion. This is specifically key if you want to go ahead and segment your conversions later down the line when you're doing your reporting. Here you can go ahead and assign conversion values to your goals. This is obviously very important if you want to take advantage of bidding strategies that leverage the value of conversions. You can choose a static conversion value or a dynamic one. Conversion count is also very important. I know many of your brands count maybe the first conversion much more valuable than maybe the ones that come after. So you can go ahead and either choose to count every conversion or just the initial one. Just a quick review example of the conversion count here. As you can see, there was a purchase online for one t-shirt on Tuesday and another one on Saturday for the top example. And since the conversion setting is for every conversion, we'll count 2 conversions. But on the bottom option, we have 2 different downloads on 2 different days, and our settings are set to 1 conversion, so we'll only count 1 there. Questions? Yes? Yep.
Okay, so I'm sure we all have clients that have less than stellar relationships with their tech teams. And let's just say maybe a Google editor decides to limit the amount of time or cookies are stored to a certain time period. Is there a certain solution here that maybe in general or considering maybe future changes by your guys' competitors would be the best solution to implement to kind of mitigate any future issues?
Okay. Is that in reference to the global site-wide tags from earlier? And so your client doesn't want to make the change? Is that?
It's more of like a question of which would be the best solution in a future issue or a future change from a competitor that would maybe limit conversion tracking.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're definitely on top of all of that, and we are in an ecosystem that's ever changing, and we do really care about protecting user privacy. We are at the top of the industry when we do that, but we're really confident that the global site-wide tags are going to be dynamic enough to go ahead and be future-proof as well. Great. Just going through, again, the settings of conversion tracking, since we want to measure everything correctly before we start kicking off on attribution. The conversion window, the preset is 30 days, but especially for our lead gen clients, but also our e-commerce clients with longer windows, our purchase windows, you might want to go ahead and adjust this beyond 30 days if it takes longer than 30 days for an average purchase. We like to go ahead and make sure we have at least 30 days so you can capture as much information for your attribution. And then there's including conversions. So you're going to be tracking your macro goals. You're going to be tracking your micro goals too. But sometimes you don't necessarily want to optimize against all of them. So you have the option to obviously go ahead and uncheck this including conversions. So let's say, for example, if you're using TCPA, target CPA, and you don't want to necessarily optimize around phone calls, you can go ahead and decide to not include it in conversions, but still have it in your reporting area. Great. Understanding the measurement columns, just going to make 3 quick distinctions here. The all conversions column, that's going to include all of your conversions. So even the ones when you go ahead and uncheck including conversions, that'll have everything there. That will also have your store visits and different interactions. While your conversions columns will just have your conversions, the ones that you've designated to be conversions and that you're going to optimize against. And then there's your cross-device conversions column. So cross-device conversions then will be available if you're using Google Ads conversion tracking then. It's going to be going ahead and showing you how many of your conversions started on one device and ended on another. Yes?
Cross-device conversions, does that include all conversions or conversions?
just your conversions there for cross-device. So things like store visits and things like that won't be included yet. Additional conversion types, we have call conversions and offline conversion tracking. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the call conversion options already here. There's calls directly from your ads, where you need to use a Google forwarding number if you want to go ahead and track that. You have calls to phone numbers on your website. Again, you need to use a Google forwarding number for that option. Click on number on your mobile websites. Many of you might be familiar with our call-only campaigns. And then importing call conversions, that will be using the offline conversion import solution there. These are just the settings of the call conversions, very similar to that of the website. You can go ahead and change the length of what is going to be tracked as a call. So I remember you can go ahead and change that to 30 seconds. If it's shorter, that's a valuable interaction. You can also extend that over to 1 minute and 20 seconds. And you can see here that it's position-based, but by default, it will be last click. All right, so importing offline conversions. Can I get a quick raise of hands of who imports conversions from offline? Great. That's really great to hear. So this is a little bit more advanced. It does involve some technical know-how, but very, very valuable for our advertisers who, that initial lead or interaction isn't necessarily what really drives the bottom line. Perfect for our lead generation advertisers who are working with clients who use things like marketing qualified lead and sales qualified lead. Because as you could probably imagine, one of the big questions that come from clients who track leads is, are these high quality leads? So when you use offline conversion import, you're able to go ahead and bring those indicators in their clients' CRMs back into Google Ads, so then they can go ahead and actually see that their ads are influencing high quality leads, and even close deals if it's within that same window. Any questions here so far? Cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through the quick process here. Actually, I'm going to go quickly through it because usually it's not a very fast process. But basically, you can go ahead and tag your website to go ahead and assign G-CLIDs to people who click through the ad. This user is provided a G-CLID, and then you go ahead and configure the CRM in a way that will go ahead and accept the G-CLID. So when the G-CLID comes in, you can connect that to the user who might become more of a qualified lead or closes in the CRM. From there, you can go ahead and send this information back into Google Ads, so then you can go ahead and report on closed deals or MQLs, as well as optimize against it, hopefully if you have enough volume. And I've seen a lot of success with advertisers using offline conversion import. The most success is definitely when we get enough volume of those offline conversions back into the Google Ads account, because then you can go ahead and use things like target CPA against closed deals and things like that. And the great thing with this is offline conversion import. It's completely synced up with our automation solutions as well as our non-last click attribution solutions. Do we have any questions here? Yes.
So first, if you're going to use smart bidding for offline conversions that you upload, how does smart bidding take into account that there's probably going to be a time lag with offline conversions versus a regular conversion on site that doesn't have this, immediately happens, I guess?
For automation?
Yeah. Like for target CPA or something.
All right. All right, so these are just some best practices when it comes to accurately measuring your conversion data. 1, choose correct conversion count. We covered that. 2, link your Google Analytics and Google Ads and import website-related metrics. 3, include every conversion action that's important to your business. You don't necessarily have to include them all in your conversion columns. And then 4, track the value of conversions through dynamic values. Really quickly here, We're going to have a short break after this display section, but just going to go ahead and quickly cover display measurement solutions in Google Ads as well as Google Analytics. With all of our search and shopping, I think clients really do care about clicks, but when it comes to display, the true value isn't necessarily in clicks. The global click-through rate on display is less than 1%. So we do definitely recommend to go ahead and measure against view-through conversions and several other metrics that we're going to touch on really quickly. 50% of display ads must be viewed on a screen for 1 second or more. We do pride ourselves in giving you the tools to go ahead and confidently report on view-through conversions to your clients. Half of the ad, at least 50% of the ad, has to be on the screen for at least 1 second for it to be counted as a view-through conversion in Google Ads. So we're definitely following the best practices provided to us by the MRC and IAB standards, while other competitive platforms might go ahead and count a view-through conversion if just 1 pixel was on your screen. Yes? Yeah.
Can we use the mics just to make sure everybody can hear questions? Thank you.
Cool.
If you don't mind repeating that one, AJ.
Your question was, is that also for the viewable impressions? Yeah.
So that's really a property of the impressions more so than the conversion. It's just not going to count that conversion unless it saw it originate from a high viewability impression.
Yeah, we're talking about just the view-throughs now of that.
Okay.
Cool. Let me, maybe this next slide, we'll go ahead and speak a little bit to that. When are VTCs recorded? View-through conversions are recorded when there's a display impression. Maybe you didn't necessarily click on the actual ad, and then they later converted. Then that would be counted as a view-through conversion. But if they were to click on the ad, go through the website, and convert, then that would be counted as a conversion, not a view-through conversion. Here's another example: the search click, display click conversion, click conversions given to the search click. That is, the view-through conversion is provided for the display impression. Yes?
How would you, I mean, I believe there would be here, but how would you, and someone who's skeptic saying, oh, that impression didn't lead to the conversion or the converted thing? Like, how would you go about kind of ruling that connection out? That it was the ad that,
Yeah. A/B testing can be kind of tough, so we try to go ahead and build out maybe some more robust reporting. I think I have a slide here that might be able to speak to that, actually. Just to quickly review here, how do we measure display ad performance more effectively in Google Ads? That's going to be view-through conversions that we just covered, click-through conversions, as well as looking at both click and view-through conversions completely as a picture and drawing that story to your clients. Here are some settings for your view-through conversions. You can go ahead and adjust them, whether it be 1 day, 3 days, or 30 days. The default here, as you can see, is 1 day with a max of 30. And you can show view-through conversions in the campaigns area there with a column. As an example here. And then maybe speaking to your point now here, how do we go ahead and show that story with Google Analytics? This is currently in beta, but it's open beta, so you can actually go ahead and work with all of your Google teams to go ahead and get access to this. But this is our GDN impression reporting. And there's just a sample here on the right. But GDN impressions allow you to see display impressions assisted conversions across any channel, unlike VTCs in Google Ads. So you'll be able to see the GDN impressions beta reports on your display ad impressions, which are really powerful here. Position-based crediting, first and last interactions equally, as well as a look-back window set to 60 days for longer paths to purchasing and branding promotions. So to your point, I really do enjoy using the channel options in Google Analytics as well as Google Ads. And I am excited that when we do launch Google Attribution, it will be cross-channel. So we will be able to go ahead and help connect the story with our search campaigns, shopping campaigns, as well as display campaigns. Yes?
Just a thought to his point. Sorry, I'll use a microphone. Sorry.
Yeah.
To his point, YouTube has a product where when we launch something, we can request a lift study to be done, like a brand recognition study. Is there anything like that for display where if somebody says, well, just because the person who saw your display ad went to my website converted, it doesn't mean the ad is having an effect. It means you're targeting really well. So like, how do we sort of have a conversation about that to our clients in a similar way that we can have about YouTube's brand lift on top of the view through conversions?
Incrementality.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. So to his point, we have the lift test with video, being able to go ahead and see how video influences. We do have that in the works, incrementality test with display. And it's currently in development right now. I believe it's in beta, so that's something that I can go ahead and look into to see if there's any availability for this document. But it's definitely in the works. I know A/B tests, they can be hard to definitely run, and they usually don't. You can't necessarily promise statistically significant results when you're running A/B tests with budgets of $25,000, $50,000. So incrementality tests for display, that's something in the works definitely. Just a little bit more quick view at that beta here that you can talk to your Google team about, and how you can visualize the influence of display on other channels with this beta here.